Opening round came. Then came round one. And round one is over. Now that's what I call an intro. Firstly, I and most people, I think we all hate opening round, right? This thing sucks. 2 games this time. And man, for fantasy, I feel like you cannot ignore the kind of scores that get given. And look, it's hindsight, but wouldn't have started Perryman. Would have been 50-50 on Roberts, for better or worse. Wouldn't have started Taylor, but you don't get the cash gen, so sort of that one's fine. Wouldn't have started Ash. And, you know, I'll get to all this stuff. Anyone else? I think that's it. But those kind of players wouldn't have started Day. Definitely wouldn't have started Day. It felt like I was forced into starting Day. It's just like, in terms of like, if there was mathematical formulas and like algorithms, you know, like sports betting companies like design their products to be like optimal for them, in terms of like, if you were given tips by their kind of equations or whatever, they would say pick Day, pick Ash, pick Taylor, you know, pick Perryman. Because high ownership as well, it's just, you can't risk them going really well again. Even if you think there might be a tag coming, or etc, you know, just it screws a lot of the uniqueness and independence of your teams. But it is what it is. I'm not going to complain about this first round. I'll go through all my players. I'm happy where I'm at, considering what could have been, you know, some fails. Firstly, I'll talk about Ben Hobbs, and this is a tip for anyone that has impulse control problems. I was thinking of wanting to fade Pryor. I was just starting to get cold on him, and I thought having Taylor as that D6, like I wanted to start Taylor, and I felt like having Pryor on the bench just didn't sit right, that amount of cash for what could be a crappy score, and the other way around would have been Pryor on field and Taylor on bench, and I just didn't see that as a worthwhile way of using my cash. Like Taylor on bench, yes, he's going to generate it and might be blocking a low score, but it's just so much cash to have on the bench, you know. Ben Hobb, so yeah, I faded Pryor, and look, for the optimistic side, it was part of the reason why I got Sam DeConning, and the other, you know, I was almost on Frazier as well, but it is what it is. From that decision, and if there's anyone actually really paying attention to what I'm saying, because I know this is a very small channel or whatever, if there was anyone that was saw Pryor and team, I'm sorry, like I can't keep, I'm just doing so many updates to my team like before this round one closing. It is what it is. So for bit of all over the place with this video right now, but I'll get to this journal thing in a second. I'll talk about specific players and targets, you know, that sort of stuff. But we'll go through the games first. After just a few reviews of players here. Short, look, he's fine, he's doing really well, got tagged. I don't expect that to happen every week, because, you know, Tigers won even when he was getting tagged for the second half of the game by Cottrell. Don't tag Short, maybe you win the game, is the key. You know, it did nothing because Richmond was supposed to be the worst team for the year. They won with a Short getting tagged. Like, it seems pointless, you would think, wouldn't you? So Short, fine. Ash, watching this game, he played really well. His decisions were better than I've seen from his previous like years of playing the game. he didn't make a mistake. Whitfield made a lot of mistakes in terms of kicking the ball and where he was passing to, but he seemed to get on the end of so much more possession. But Ash was leading into space, just burnt over and over again for easy marks and stuff in the wet as well. I'm not too concerned about it, as long as after his bye, he comes out with at least an 80, which I think after watching the Hawks-Bombers game, you would think the play against Hawks is to control some more of that uncontested possession. So yeah, we'll see there. He still made a heap of cash. Like, this is one of the reasons why you pick these players from opening round, is for the guaranteed cash gen. And looking through all the other teams, like in team value, I would say I'm probably top 100, just considering the cash I still have in the bank here. I don't think this shows, this shows my value post trades, and I still have like 60k in the bank. So I'm at that sort of 18,712 mark, which would be like the top 15 in terms of team value. But all these teams, you don't know how much cash they still have in the bank, and it doesn't show their value post trades. So I like, when my team value is like 18.5 something, because there was 100k I've already spent. Does that make sense? Okay, I don't want to talk about that too much. Roberts was fine. I think in another game he'll be fine. Nothing to complain about that for now. Perryman, he sort of just, I didn't watch much of the game. I'm having the assumption he was tagging Jason Horne-Francis for a bit, but you can't be having a 49 from a guy playing midfield like that. I have higher priorities, but he would be one I'd be trading out of. Only guy on my team that didn't generate cash. Just a pathetic score, He gets another game to see if he can bounce back, but he was really good last week, which is like, why you pick these guys again? But I don't know, I didn't watch the game, so I don't know what was happening, but what's my hair doing, man? Like, essentially like an 85 and 3/4 last week to a 49 again in a dominant performance. I don't know, he should be better against the Dogs. They seem to give up more points to players. So if you're like most people, I think you give him a week, and then if he doesn't pull out an 85-ish score, you trade him because he's coming into his bye. So yeah, I'll get to the journal entry stuff in a sec surrounding him. Sam de Koning's one. I had another video I made, but I somehow accidentally deleted it. I wanted to put it on private for a second, then put it back up. But I talked about how de Koning was coming up against Reedy in this first matchup, which is essentially like the easiest matchup he'll have all year. And the more I thought about it, it just seemed like a better play to start him and not risk him going really well like he did here. So yeah, de Koning's going to be one of these plays I think is tough to think about in terms of if you didn't start him, whether or not he's a super high priority. I think he's a priority, but he comes into matchups now that aren't as great as this one, like Gorn and I think this week he's versing Saints. He should be okay, but after that, doesn't look so great. So yeah, he is higher of a priority than I initially thought. I thought they were versing Melbourne this week, but that's not the case. So yeah, great score from him. One of these players that really helped my ranking and score, obviously. So yeah, great pick. Sam Taylor. In the wet, a 47's fine. I see people just a bit annoyed about like his score here or what, but I don't know what people were expecting. I actually think a 47 in that weather was pretty good. and because I have higher priorities, he's not someone I'm going to be trading this week. It does sort of stifle the strategy of the cash gen, but he's still going to have a low break even. And again, coming up against Hawks, this next matchup is not, as long as it's not played in like a pigsty sort of wet weather, I think there's a better chance of him having a 70 or higher, you know. So yeah, I'm happy to just hold him for now. And then Reed and Trainer were good in terms of scoring. Trainer a lot better of a player than Reed, but they're both going to be there. And you know, 37% owned, 63% owned. You'd think most people have him. Leak was another one that's super high owned that I don't know if I said it in the previous video, but I jumped off because I said he looked like a guy that that could get dropped or moved around in positions, and a 14 is just not great. This video is gonna go for a long time. Dawson, incredible. Yeah, just great. Even got tagged. He was fine, pushing through the tag in the forward line. Just one of my favorite players ever. Just a gun. And there is not much of a reason why he can't do this every week. It's only these mega tags, but the emergence of Rankin, Saligo, Peatling, a little bit, Crouch, all these guys just, they take over as well in the Crows midfield when Dawson gets tagged. So how much of a point is there to tag him? I don't know. He broke through it, kicked some goals. His kicking efficiency wasn't as good, but you know, just a gun. Brownlow contender, man. For sure a Brownlow contender this year. Rosie, I didn't watch much of this game. He had one of his classic early 17-point first quarters, and I thought, oh, here we go again. But to get to 112 in this thrashing, this seems like the low end of scores in a game against Collingwood like this. So yeah, really happy with Rosie scoring 112 in that game. He's probably going to be my captain this week against the Tigers back at home. Port can't not respond. It is absolute mayhem if they lose to the Tigers at home next week. You wouldn't think it's possible. And yeah, I guess McIntosh maybe goes to Rosie, but surely Horn Francis gets a tag again. I mean, it looked like you could tag Horn Francis, so yeah. Tom Powell, oh my god, fantasy monster when he's just in around the ball. He didn't even have super high CBAs, but he was forward at times pushing up. One of the midfielders still though. My pick of the year, I think, besides De Koning, lower than 4% owned, 121, smash pick, was keen on him all year. I nearly did something really silly and put Bergman there ahead of him. This is another one of these impulse control things you need to do, because I needed to get a defender at some point in my thinking to trade Taylor, drop Bergman in, you know, or I would have cried if I did that. But came to my senses with plenty of time. Tom Powell, beast pick. And Clayton Oliver looked fine. I thought he was getting a bit joked by the umpires. He's fine. He looked great. I think he'll be much better than this 84. Not concerned with him right now. And everyone has him. Will Day's very interesting one. Coming into his bye, I think he might be a guy to maybe trade out of at his bye, but until then, he stays there. Still positively going to be generating cash at his price. We'll see how he goes this week. Can he break a tag this week? We'll see. I was very skeptical of him breaking tags this year, and so far in this first game he gotten tagged. That's the case. You know, he's going to get a Hewitt tag this week. He'll get a Bedford tag next week. It's very interesting how much tags have come back into fashion as well. Like last year, it didn't feel like many teams are doing it. But yeah, designated tag is popping up everywhere. Chera, interesting one. He was doing really well and then just I guess maybe they were managing his minutes or something. He just slowed right down. But fine for now. Not extremely happy, but fine. You know, still scoring well. See how he goes this week again as one of these guys, but not a concern for now. Hugo Garcia, I don't know what Ross Lyon is thinking with his midfield mix, but he was the fourth guy, but it was like there were 3 or 4 guys as the fourth guy essentially. Saved his score late, and I was always a little skeptical of this first week against the Crows at home, but I still picked him with the decision that he would have more midfield time than he did. So he's one to watch on thin ice, which is part of my journal thoughts in a second. Disappointing, but still gained a bit of cash, you know. Not the worst one when he's pretty high owned. And Camberelli on field, great pick. I mean, in hindsight, you'd maybe want someone else on field, but, you know, Ashcroft. I'll get to him in a sec, but Camberelli was really good on his wing. I thought he didn't do much wrong. He was burnt. He could have got to 100 in my opinion. I don't see him getting dropped. Even if Doherty comes back, there's probably a lot more concerning factors of Carlton than Camberelli. So yeah, just a great pick that most people had eventually, 51%, you know. Hewitt was a guy I had to get to late, just to thinking about my trades next week, specifically picking Hobbs. He was either going to be Max Hall or Hewitt. I just thought Hewitt was the safer play. Guess not. But watching, he started really terribly, like a 0 or whatever. Worked himself into the game, got a decent second quarter. And I actually didn't mind his role. He looks okay. One to watch if you don't have him, like a lot of people do. But I think he could be a sneaky slow burn that might pop off in a certain week and, you know, just really get cash gen going. He had sort of an interrupted preseason, so I'm thinking he might be okay. I actually liked his role, and I think he'll build into the season. And maybe long term, he might be better than Max Hall. Obviously, you would prefer to have started Max Hall. He would have better cash gen. But I think Hewitt's role's better. Hall did look good, but I'm still skeptical. Coming up against Geelong will be interesting. I think they might nullify forwards a bit more than the Crows did. I'm not sure. Wait and see. And then Ashcroft's just one that is really unfortunate for people that didn't have him, because he was going to be sub and then there was a laid out. But if you're not sweating this first round stuff, if you don't have commitments outside of the games, you know, you might not have picked him and put him back in your teams. Just an unfortunate one for people with a live outside of the game on the weekend, but probably the priority, because I think he just, especially in that last quarter, he was Brisbane's best player. He was one of the main reasons they got over the line. So yeah, got to get him this week and put him on field against the Eagles. I think he'll go 110, to be honest. He's a ball magnet, just knows how to score. Max Gawn as captain. Look, honestly, a little disappointing. Even though he was the fourth highest scorer of the round, I really wanted a 150 here to start Gawn. But I guess you can't complain too much. But I just, coming up against Keith in the wet, there are a few marks he dropped, you know. I guess you can't really expect these 150 scores, you know, unless it's maybe a midfielder or something. I'm not too sure. But Gawn he's fine for now. He did look a little slow at times, sluggish. I don't know. He was great. What am I saying? He was great. Fine as captain. And then De Koning, just a monster. Just really obviously breaking out. Had a slow start in this Richmond game, but yeah, just if you don't have him, I'm not sure how high of a priority he should be, but you have to have him. He's absolutely going to be one of the guys that the car winning team or hat winning team will have from here till the end of the season, or like he might be someone you don't need to trade out of. It could end up being Cherry and De Koning, the two you want at the end of the year. And then Harry Boyd named, so I thought best to play him, and seeing Rowan Marshall look pretty off it, he looks like he'll be there to stay. So yeah, jumped off Archer Reed because Boyd was named. So yeah, simple pick there. McRae, don't really need to talk about. He's going to do McRae things this year. A lot of players talked about. And Riley Sanders, he got bevoed. This is a guy on thin ice with Treloar and Bont coming back. I don't like how he's playing. He saved his score late. He gets another week, but I'm really frustrated I didn't start Rankin over him. Rankin was my pick most of the year, and then it's just, some of these decisions coming into the end of the round, to the start of the round. Frustrating I don't have Rankin there because I was hot on him all year, but it is what it is. Captain Hindsight. Smith, just what are you doing if you didn't pick him? Not going to say much there. Daniel the same. And then Hobbs. Hobbs, like I was saying, was an impulse, a player I shouldn't have picked, but his role in the preseason game was only midfield. And then in this game, he had like one centre bounce playing as like full forward. Brad Scott, what are you doing? Why are you playing this Matt Crouch type player in this crappy forward role where he's good at getting the ball to a forward from, like, he did some really good goal assisting hand passes and stuff, but get him in the midfield so he can hand pass and get clearances and tackle. Redmond starting there over him. I picked Hobbs as a guy that might get a decent 30-40% chunk of midfield time. I mean, Sardis got 60% CBAs. Like, what the hell? Anyways, he's a trade out with that role for now. There might be someone else that comes along, but yeah. What the hell is that role? Sam Davidson, bit disappointing against North. I don't know. He was just on the cold wing, maybe. Be interesting against Collingwood this week. I think you still want to have him on field, maybe. I'm 50-50 on that with Wicks. Yeah, against Collingwood, I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe he gets more ball. It's hard to say. But I guess fine as a 230 guy. But he was on field, so it is what it is. Connor Stone, a 40. I'm not sure about Stone in terms of scoring. He might be a trade out simply because he's an easy way for me to get Lindsay. But yeah, buy this week, so he won't generate cash this week. He could be a guy I trade back into if I'm playing a sort of cash gen forward play. Probably not, but because he's not playing this week, he's not going to be generating cash. It might just be someone you can trade out of after he's made this 50k. So I don't know. I don't know. Fine to keep, maybe fine to trade if you don't have anything else more pressing. And then Sam Wicks, another guy, made 50k, so I'm not complaining about his score too much. This was the idea of the opening round, guys. I actually think he'll be better this week against Freo, considering how crazy the Geelong defense went. So he might be on field for me this week. And then probably gets a trade out if his score isn't amazing because he's on a bye. But yeah, I still think with Wicks, a little bit more to play out with him. Mainly this next game, you know. I think he could get an 80 against Freo if he's sort of a little looser in defense, which he might be. Yeah, just one probably on the trade out targets because of how the strategy was coming in, but I'm fine with Wicks for now. And then Murphy Reed, that third quarter was crazy. And he got burnt a lot as well, I think. I think he'll have more consistent scoring over 4 quarters in games. So yeah. Yeah, those are all my players. Yes. I guess maybe going through the games is another thing I might do. Do we really need to do that? Folks, do we really need to do that? Let's just get to the journals. I mean, we all watch the games. You all know what happened. And I'll just talk about my players of interest coming into next week. And for people that might not have some of them. So, targets in order of priority. Ashcroft. Levi Ashcroft is your number 1 priority, all right? If you don't have him, get him because he's going to pop off against West Coast. I'm confident in this, and if I'm wrong, you know, I'm wrong. But that's my prediction. I think he's going to absolutely tear it up against the Eagles. Only don't trade him in if he's sub, which, I don't know, man. I don't think he would be. Why would he be? Doesn't make sense to me. Next up in targets in order of priority is Nevitt. His role is just great. He was one I wanted to see first before selecting, and yeah, he started really slow, but just dominated the second half of the game, tore it up, tackles, just showed he could get garbage time scoring. Yeah, I think he's going to be one we want on our fields for the first half of the year. Great midfield role, very similar to Ollie Dempsey last year. Then we got Lindsay, nearly got him for Hewitt, but I wanted a mid forward in that spot. But Lindsay just looks like a ready-made wing player who can do a lot of scoring. So yeah, not much to say on him. He's great. I think he'll be another one of these guys we really need for cash gen. So he takes priority of some of the other guys. Then Sam de Koning I have coming up against St Kilda this week. He's going to get away from you, I think, if you don't get him in this week. And if he pulls up another really good 90 plus score, he's going to take the competition away from you. So I think there'll be a lot of teams around the mark that want to get him in this week. So yeah, better be looking for him. Camberelli, if you didn't start, I think cash gen wise you'll be fine. Better role than Hall, and just a little bit more cash gen involved with him over O'Driscoll. So yeah, a lot of people have him though, so he's one there. And then O'Driscoll, initially after the first couple of games, I thought O'Driscoll and Nevitt were the main 2 priorities that I would have to be trading into. A little frustrating I didn't start O'Driscoll, but I did just want to see his role first, and he had a lot more midfield time than I expected. So in hindsight, I would have loved to have picked him, but Young coming back soon. I don't know if O'Driscoll's actually going to lose that much midfield time for the year, but I just can't. I have higher priorities, obviously, on this list that I want to get to first. I think next week I'll be getting O'Driscoll in. Just pending disaster from him this week, because he comes up against the Eagles, who just look like a free hit this year, and then the games continue to be pretty great for Freo. So yeah, after that O'Driscoll, and then Max Hall. He looked good. He looked really good, especially against in a team that sort of capitulated to the Crows. He was the sort of guy that got sort of like that Dylan Moore kind of play, you know, where he was leading up and getting marks and sort of helping out on the wing with whoever was there, like Wilson or whatever. I'm a little concerned about how he goes this week. If he can do well this week against Geelong, I'm probably looking next week to bring in O'Driscoll and Hall. So we'll see there. Yeah, and then Tom Powell and Rankin. Powell, I think if you have a midfielder that is a premium you need to drop out of, I'm not sure who that would be at this stage. Like someone like Will Ashcroft, I don't think you would trade out of against the Eagles this week, but maybe in a week you need to be getting someone else if he doesn't do well this week. Just Powell, I think is going to be a guy that the car winning team has, just seeing that first game. But who knows, you know. I think he's breaking out this year. I've thought it all season, as long as he gets that midfield time, which he does have. It's just when what's his name comes back, the Warden, whatever his name is. What's his name? Wardius? Warden? Is it Warden? I don't know. The guy that's suffering from hamstring injuries or whatever. Yeah, just love the way Powell was playing. He looks like the fantasy friendly role. He's not going to get tagged, especially with Sheasel in the midfield and LDU. So yeah, just gets a free run for a lot of those possessions and stuff, and he fills all stat lines. Rankin, just frustrating. I don't have owned. He had about 40% midfield time, but when he was playing forward, he would be that guy coming up from the forward line. He was not playing as deep. I think next week, if Sanders doesn't do too well, I will be wanting to get Rankin in. So yeah, he looks really good this year. I think he's going to be someone everyone needs to jump on eventually if you don't have. And then Fraser, just getting midfield time over Sanders, pardon? He won't have that time, I wouldn't think, when Bont and Treloar come back, but he could be better off half back. I'll get to this next point in a sec, but yeah, Fraser's just a target. Could do really well against Collingwood. He may be one, if you don't have, you want to have another look at, because he was versus North, and last year his best score was against North. We'll see. I think maybe one to watch this week as opposed to trading in, unless you want to go Taylor to Fraser. That's probably, if you have Taylor, the best option. And so yeah, some premium player option discussion to finish off, and then thin ice. Aside from Fraser in defense, I don't see anyone worthy of a selection besides the top end guys in defense, you know, like the Sheasel, Zorko, Whitfield, Sinclair, Wanganeen Malera, Clark, Holmes, Dale, Houston, Amon, all those top guys. I think if you need a defender that is higher in price, you're either going Fraser or the high guys. I don't see anyone else as a selection below 900k. It's Fraser or you go up for me personally. And then mids, if you're looking for a premium midfielder, Powell, Caldwell are my main two. Caldwell after his buys pretty high on my target list because he's the guy there. He's the scorer. Not going to get tagged with merit in the team. Even with Parrish back, he's going to have that midfield role. I think he just looks like a leader. He looks like the scorer for Essendon this year. And then Saligo, probably not one I'll end up trading in, but with all the Crows guns around in this team that this year, Saligo looked, I barely noticed him to 125. He knows how to score. He's a bit of a pig. Half the game in the midfield and then forward line pushing up. He could get forward status maybe. Just a really good scorer. So one to watch there as well. And then the rucks, I think this year you must have TDK and then one of Gawn and Cherry. I don't think there's much more to think about I wouldn't get too cute with it. I think eventually I'll have Gawn to Jerry, and then maybe Briggs later down the line, because he's going to drop in cash, but I'm not too sold on him. And then, yeah, forwards I've spoken about ranking. Graham is playing pure midfield and scoring a 97 against the Suns in a demolishing. I mean, it looks like Eagles will get demolished every week, but he's got a good role. It could be good. He could be a 95 plus scorer, which would be great. If he was scoring 97 every week, it's not an insane score, but that's the kind of, like, a 97 average in the forward line from his price is great. It's what you would want Sanders to do. Like, a 97 is exactly what you would want him to do. So if you wanted to get off Sanders, straight switch to Graham is easy. Then Simpkin, I don't know if this was just a one-off. Didn't have a heap of midfield time, but I mean, he showed it in that Indigenous All-Stars game. He looks healthy and just super in form. So another one to watch who, yeah, on the watch list for sure. And then Toby Green, very interesting if he keeps up some of this midfield time he's getting. He did it in preseason. Just dominant performance from him. One to watch if he gets that 30 to 40% midfield clock. He was essentially midfield the whole last quarter. One to watch if the Giants have a really good run of games. And then we'll get to thin ice. Guys that I'm thinking I hold for another week, but on the chopping block. Perryman, for obvious reasons, 49 in that half midfield time, half God knows where role. Can't be scoring 49 at that price. Sanders, another one. Bevo does not like him playing midfield, it seems. And with Frazier getting time over him and Bont and Trelaw to come back, his days are numbered for sure. Garcia, surely Saints changed up the way they had that midfield mix. Jones, Clark, I don't know, there are a few other guys there. Just put Garcia in and keep him as a midfielder, Ross. What are you doing, bro? One on the chopping list, but he's so low in price that he gets another week. And could be good against Geelong, who like to give up points to midfielders at times. Ash, another one that may be similar to what he was last year, with that 63, just lower on the priority of player possessions. He should be higher, but I'm not. Who am I? I'm not freaking Jack Buckley, not deciding to kick to him like 5 times, you know. And then Taylor, I do think I want to watch him against the Hawks after his bye. If he doesn't have a good score that continues his cash gen, he's gone for me. And then Wicks, just probably traded for me next week, but we'll see how it goes against Freo. So yeah, at this point, my trades are Hobbs out and Stone out, because I can't really think of who else to trade out for these priority targets for me. Nevitt and Lindsay, I need to trade out a forward, and I feel like I have got too much cash in the bank if I trade out a Wicks for instead of Stone. And Stone's on his bye, it just seems a bit more reasonable. And then Hobbs for reasons, you know. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you got questions, you know, say something in the chat and I'll try and answer any trade targets or advice, you know. Happy to help out. I enjoy this game too much. Bye bye.